All right, welcome everyone to our very first deep dive. Super excited to have you all here as we kick off this journey of knowledge exploration. We're all about diving into those amazing sources that you, our amazing listeners, have shared and, really digging out the most captivating insights.
And I am absolutely thrilled to be here.
So today, we're going to be focusing on a really pivotal period, 1336 to 1646 CE. We're going to be looking at how, the rise of these regional empires really impacted local identities and traditions in India. And we've got some amazing sources to help us uncover this.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking history books. We've got some great architectural analysis and even, little nuggets of wisdom from some of our past deep dives.
So get ready, folks. We're about to uncover how empires and local communities, sometimes they clashed, sometimes they blended, but they always left a lasting mark on history.
It really is a fascinating period. You got to imagine India at a crossroads, right? The mighty Delhi Sultanate, it's on the decline and it's creating this power vacuum.
Yeah.
It really sets the stage for some new players.
New players, huh? Like who are we talking about?
Well, we've got the Vijayanagara Empire down south, the Bengal Sultanate in the east, and of course, who could forget, the Mughal Empire starts to, make its grand entrance during this time.
Wow, the Mughals, always a favorite. But so each of these empires, they're all vying for control. They're bringing their own unique cultures and ideas to the table. So it's like this melting pot, right? This clash of ambitions, of fight for identity. But did these empires just come in and like wipe out local traditions? Or was it more complex than that?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And this is where it gets really fascinating. One of the sources that, we were provided with Architecture of Mughal India, it offers this really compelling perspective.
Okay, architecture. Love it. So what's the connection here?
Well, the Mughals, particularly under emperors like Akbar and Shah Jahan, they were pretty clever. They used their architectural projects, these grand structures, to really weave together this tapestry of power and identity.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this architectural tapestry.
Well, instead of just forcing a purely Islamic aesthetic, they actually started incorporating these local styles and motifs.
Wait, hold on. So they intentionally blended different architectural styles. Why would they do that?
Well, think about it. By incorporating these familiar elements into their mosques, their palaces, even their tombs, they were subtly acknowledging the existing traditions. It's like creating this visual language that would resonate with the local population.
Wow, that's brilliant. It's like they're saying, hey, we're here to stay, but we respect your heritage too. It completely flips the script on how we usually think about empires just coming in and erasing everything.
Exactly. It's a much more nuanced approach.
But how did this blending of styles actually look? Can we get some specific examples from the source? I always love a good visual.
Oh, absolutely. Let's start with Babur, the founder of the Mughal dynasty.
Oh yeah, Babur.
Yeah,
Big name.
big name. He built this mosque at Panipat. It was to commemorate his victory, right? And even in this early structure, you can see these early attempts at architectural fusion. It's like he's saying, yeah, we're victors, but we also acknowledge the legacy of this land.
Like a subtle message woven into the very bricks and mortar of the building.
What about the other Mughal emperors, though? Did they follow suit?
Oh, they did. They did, and each one kind of added their own unique twist to this architectural tapestry. You've got Humayun's tomb in Delhi.
Oh, stunning. Absolutely
It
stunning.
really is. It showcases Islamic grandeur, yeah, but it also has these Timurid influences, a nod to the Mughals' Persian heritage. It just adds another layer to this whole interplay of identities.
So it's a layering of cultures, this merging of styles, almost like a visual representation of the power dynamics at play.
Yeah.
It's like building a new society brick by brick, but incorporating pieces of the old into the new.
Exactly. And maybe the most striking example of this whole inclusive approach is Akbar's Fatehpur Sikri. Have you seen it?
I have. It's incredible. I know, right? It's a masterpiece of Mughal architecture, and it just deliberately brings together Islamic, Hindu, even regional styles all into one. It's almost like he's saying, this empire, it's for everyone.
Wow, that's powerful. It makes you wonder if Akbar genuinely believed that or if it was, a savvy political strategy. But either way, the impact is undeniable. What about Shah Jahan, though? The Taj Mahal guy.
Yeah.
Did he continue this blending?
Even in Shah Jahan's more lavish structures, like, the Taj Mahal, which is just breathtaking.
Breathtaking is an understatement.
Right. But you can still see that strategy of incorporating local elements. He often employed local craftsmen, used local materials, so it blurs the lines even further between Mughal and indigenous artistic traditions.
So the Taj Mahal, this iconic symbol of Mughal artistry, it's also a testament to the skills and the heritage of Indian artisans.
That's fascinating. It really makes you think about how even these grand structures are often the result of collaboration of different artistic visions coming together. But this Mughal influence, it wasn't just limited to like imperial projects, was it? You're hitting the nail on the head. Even Hindu nobility, folks like Bir Singh Deo, they started incorporating Mughal elements into their own palaces.
Really?
Yeah, like you see it in the Jahangiri Mahal at Orcha. So this cultural exchange, it wasn't just a one-way street. Local elites were adapting to, absorbing these elements of Mughal style.
So was this genuine admiration? Like, did they want to be like the ruling power? Or was it, a bit of both? It seems like this blending of styles wasn't just about aesthetics. It was about navigating power and identity in this world that was constantly in flux.
It really is a fascinating question, and it kind of leads us into another key aspect of this era. We got to talk about religion and social structures. How did those things shape local identities? Luckily, we've got another great source, a concise history of modern India.
Okay, religion always has another layer of complexity. So how did Islam, especially under the sultanates, impact local traditions?
Well, Islam brought with it new religious practices, legal systems, a whole new set of social norms. But it wasn't just a simple swap, one belief system for another. We start seeing these syncretic forms of belief emerging, where local traditions were kind of absorbed into Islamic practices.
So it's that same idea of blending and adapting that we saw in architecture, but now it's happening with faith and spirituality. Got any concrete examples?
Imagine a local deity, right? One that's been revered for centuries. Now it's being incorporated into the Islamic pantheon, maybe as a saint or a mystical figure. Or think about the rise of Sufi practices. They often blended Islamic mysticism with local belief systems. It's fascinating.
It's like those, those wildflowers that sprout up through cracks in the pavement. You can try to control nature, but it always finds a way to adapt and thrive.
Exactly.
And this whole merging of religious practices reminds me of some of our previous deep dives. Like in episode 81, we talked about how Persian language and culture, brought in by the Delhi Sultanate, became a part of Indian society. Like, think about how widely Persian was used in administration and literature.
You're spot on. And we can't forget episode 82 either, where we dug into how that Sultanate era really shook things up socially and culturally.
Yeah, new social classes popping up, Turkish and Persian cultural elements getting mixed in. It's like this chain reaction, one event leading to another and changing the whole landscape. But let's not forget about the existing social structures, like the caste system. That played a massive role in how empires interacted with local communities.
You're absolutely right. That caste system, with its complex hierarchy, it was both a challenge and an opportunity for these empires. They wanted to consolidate their power. And the sources show us that regional kingdoms, like the Guptas and Cholas, they actually used land grants to Brahmins, the priestly caste. It was a way to expand their authority into new areas.
So they're using this existing hierarchy to their advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Forging alliances with powerful groups like the Brahmins, legitimizing their rule. But what about the other castes? How did all this impact them?
That's a great question, and it really highlights how tricky this whole imperial rule thing is. By reinforcing that caste system, these empires were promoting a sense of unity, sure, but they were also perpetuating those social divisions. So it's like this dilemma, right? How do you balance the need for social cohesion with these deeply ingrained power structures? It's a balancing act that we're still dealing with today,
Yeah, it really makes you think about the long-term consequences. Did these empires end up strengthening the caste system, or did they maybe accidentally, start to break it down a little? It seems like every action has these like ripple effects that go way beyond the immediate situation. But did everyone just accept what these empires were doing? Was there any pushback?
That's a great point, and our sources really emphasize this. It wasn't just a one-way street. There was always resistance, always this undercurrent of defiance. People wanted to hold on to their traditions.
So it wasn't a passive acceptance. People were actively pushing back, fighting for their own identities. What did that resistance look like? Any examples from the sources?
Oh, absolutely. We see all these uprisings against both the Delhi Sultanate and the Mughals. These rebellions, they were often led by local chieftains or, religious figures. It shows that local power structures, they never really went away.
They were just simmering under the surface, waiting for the right moment to flare up again. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Even with these powerful empires, people never gave up on that desire for autonomy, for self-determination. But what about cultural resistance? Was it more than just armed rebellions?
For sure. Think about the local religious practices, the festivals, the artistic traditions. They persisted even with the spread of Islam, the influence of those imperial cultures. It shows how deeply people valued their local identities.
It reminds me of like how many languages and customs have survived centuries of globalization. This speaks to the power of human connection, that need to hold on to what makes us unique. But this whole empire-local community dynamic, it wasn't always about conflict and resistance, was it? Weren't there times when there was genuine exchange, like mutual influence?
You're right. It's not black and white. There were definitely times of conflict and resistance. But there were also cases of exchange, adaptation, even mutual influence. Remember when we were talking about Mughal architecture?
Yeah.
The fact that those Mughal emperors chose to include local styles in their projects, it suggests that they saw the value in those indigenous traditions. It's like they were acknowledging that true power doesn't come from erasing other cultures, but from weaving them together into something richer, more vibrant.
Yeah, it makes me think, did all that blending of cultures lead to a more inclusive sense of identity over time? One that kind of went beyond religion or ethnicity or social status?
Now, that is a fascinating question, and it's one that historians are still debating. Did these empires create a more unified India, or did they actually make the divisions worse? The answer is probably both. Think about it. All that interaction between different cultures, it definitely led to new forms of expression, new traditions, a sense of shared experiences. But at the same time, all that competition for power, for resources, for cultural dominance, it also fueled tensions and divisions that are still around today.
It's like history is never a simple story. It's this tapestry with all these different threads. Some of them blend together, some of them clash, but they all make up the world we live in today.
Exactly. And as we wrap up looking at this period, I think it's important to really think about what we've learned about power and culture. What can we take from this era that helps us understand our own world? A world where globalization and technology are constantly changing who we are, challenging how we think about community and belonging.
That's a big question.
Hmm.
But it makes you realize that these historical events, they aren't just things that happened a long time ago. They're still relevant today.
Hmm.
As we navigate this crazy interconnected world, we need to remember that diversity is a good thing. It's a strength.
It is.
And it's through that exchange of ideas, appreciating different perspectives, being willing to adapt and learn from each other. That's how we can build a better world.
Absolutely. And maybe that's the most important thing we can take away from all this. Empires come and go, but that human need for connection, for belonging, for expressing ourselves, that's what lasts. And it's in those spaces between cultures, those moments of exchange and resistance and adaptation, that's where we find new ideas, new creativity, new ways of being in the world.
It's like a reminder that history isn't just about dates and battles. It's alive. It's a story that's still unfolding. And as we kind of shift our focus back to the present, I'm really curious to hear from you, our listeners. What parts of this deep dive really stood out to you? What did you learn about power, about culture, about identity? How does all of this connect to the world we're living in right now?
We've just scratched the surface here. There are so many stories left to tell, so many connections to make. So please keep exploring this era. Dig deeper into the regions and empires and people that you find interesting. You never know what you might discover.
It's incredible how events from centuries ago can still have such a big impact on us today. Before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you all with one last thought to ponder. We've talked a lot about how these regional empires shaped local identity in India, right? But what can we learn from all this about the relationship between power and culture in our own world today? It's a question that goes beyond just this one place and time.
That's a really thought-provoking question. I think one of the biggest lessons is that power is never really absolute. It's always being challenged, reshaped by the very people it tries to control. Whether it's through acts of resistance, holding on to those cultural traditions, or even just subtly blending different influences, people always find ways to make their voices heard and shape their own destinies.
It's a good reminder that history isn't just made by the big names, the emperors and conquerors. It's made by everyday people, making choices, taking actions that change the world. And with that, we've reached the end of our very first deep dive. Can you believe how fast that went?
Time flies when you're having fun, right? It's been awesome exploring these sources with you and uncovering all these fascinating insights. Hopefully, it sparked some curiosity in our listeners to dig a little deeper into this era and discover their own connections.
Absolutely. And hey, this is just the beginning, folks. There's a whole universe of knowledge out there just waiting to be explored. So until next time, keep those brains buzzing, keep those questions coming, and keep diving deep.